What's going on, guys? What's going on? As promised, I told you guys I would be back as promised. And so today we're going to be watching the Senate talk about the stimulus bill. Basically, we want to hear from two people. We want to hear from the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch, and we also want to hear from the Minority Leader, Chuck, to see what are their stance on the new Hopes bill. What's going on? We are approaching the weekend, and we need to find out what's going on. All right, I'm gonna wait until a couple of you guys show up. But just to remind you guys, if you're watching this video afterwards, this is a live stream. I would love for you to join. So if you're new to my channel, you just found this channel, just make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, subscribe, and that way you won't miss this. I basically will be doing live streams of the Senate talk about the new bill for the next coming days, and it'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They don't normally do streams on Mondays and Tuesdays and Fridays, but if they do, I'm there. Your boy is there. All right. So there's a lot to talk about today. Apparently, breaking news just came in is the president wants to prolong the election day. He wants to prolong it. He wants to push it back. The president wants to push back the election day. Shout out to everybody that's here now. We're here early, so we don't miss out on any stuff that's coming out from the Senate today. But apparently, the president wants to push back election day. So hello. I'm gonna give a couple of you guys some shout outs. Thanks for coming. What's up, man? What's up? I was just thinking about you earlier. Send me an email. You need to send me an email. All right. What's up? How you doing? Right. And so, yeah, the president wants to push back the election date, which could mean a lot if they were to do it, but that would mean more work for the Senate because that has to go through Congress for them to push it back. And basically, his reason is he doesn't feel comfortable having people do absentee ballots because of what's going on with the whole pandemic. And so his idea is push it back. And I mean, wait a minute, how many months are we need? Like, there's 3 more months before election day, so it's tough. It's real tough. I've seen a lot of parents nervous about sending their kids to school, and I'm talking to families from United States and Florida. Could you imagine Florida, Texas? Like, until these numbers come down, a lot of parents are not comfortable going out and sending their kids. So could you imagine going out and voting, and then the people who work at these voting polls, like majority of them are more senior citizens that take these particular jobs. They're concerned about, oh, okay, we're starting early. What time it is? Okay, we're starting just in time. They're concerned about what's going to happen to them. So it's an interesting subject. And not only that, guys, before this thing starts, I want you to know that there are 20 Republicans that do not want this bill. Over 20 Senate Republicans who do not want this bill. They're saying spending too much money on the bill. They don't want the bill. So today we're going to see how Mitch McConnell is going to handle this situation. What is he going to address? And also we're going to see what Chuck is going to throw that in his face. But this is all due to them prolonging talks about the bill. Okay, it's terrible now that American people have to go through waiting what the Senate's going to do and bickering and fighting, and eventually they're gonna make a bill, but that time period waiting, it's just bad timing because everything's done tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's the last day. They're gonna have to push something so they can at least get some people if they're gonna approve the unemployment. And I understand they got separate bills for separate things. If they're gonna do that, tomorrow. What is it? Tomorrow's the last day. Shout out to everybody's commenting. She says my my hair. Your hair is growing so long. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, man. Yeah, I was just looking at this and say, man, dang, it's growing. I don't really, I normally have it like wrapped up. Here, someone comment. Shout out to T-Fo Show. Plotus 45 needs to go, and we don't need a delay on the election. So what he wants. So if he gets that, that's crazy. If he gets that, but there might be some validity. It might be true that they need to push back or come up with a better plan when it comes to the elections. All right, so the thing is going to start right now. They're gonna do the prayer, then opening business, and then Mitch should be the second person to talk, but we don't know. So we'll just tune in. All right. I'll be watching the comments, guys. So leave the comments. If you leave a comment, I'll put it up on here so you can see the comments. All right. Let's go. That is totally correct. He does want more money being spent, but it's up to the Senate. Trump could be playing good cop, bad cop. You know what I mean? And blame it on the Senate if nothing happens. So we're waiting on opening prayers right now.
Senate will come to order. The chaplain, Dr. Beck, will open the Senate with prayer. Let us pray. O God, our refuge and strength, give us reverence for your greatness. Guide our senators around the pitfalls of their work, enabling them to have hearts sustained by your peace. May they surrender their will to you as they trust you to direct their steps. Lord, remind them that leadership can work miracles with cooperation, but rarely accomplishes much with conflict. Inspire our lawmakers to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. Help them to strive to live with such integrity that they give you the honor due your name. Amen.
So here we go, guys. Let's see who's gonna speak first. Okay, excuse me.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Wonder who's gonna talk first. All right, we'll talk later. Thanks for checking in.
You'll have to fix it later on. Madam President,
Senator from Iowa,
I'd like to speak for 1 minute in morning business.
without objection.
The motor coach industry has been particularly hard hit by the COVID-19 pandemic and the economic turndown as a result of it. Iowa has many motor coach operators, several of which are really family owned, and some of them for 2 or 3 generations. I've been in frequent communication with these Iowans, and I'm learning that they're quickly coming to the point of making a decision of whether or not they can even stay in business. Motor coaches provide passenger transportation services to all Americans, providing over 600 million passenger trips annually across the country. By comparison, airlines provided service for 925 million passenger trips in 2019. While most other modes of transportation have received specific funding to help through the pandemic, the motor coach industry has not. What they're really referring to when they talk to me, they seem to feel that they've been left out when we've given several tens of millions of dollars to help the airline industry. So I spoke with Senator Mnuchin about this matter and have relayed the concerns from these Iowa companies to relative committees here in the United States Senate. The government relies on motor coach industries to help move troops and also evacuate people to safety during our natural disasters. However, with passenger bookings being non-existent and few charters being scheduled, this leaves little hope of rebound yet this year. The industry may not survive to provide this service in the future if they don't receive support. I yield the floor.
Here we go, guys.
Majority Leader.
On Monday, Senate Republicans released a starting proposal for another major pandemic rescue package. Here's what we want to do. Continue a federal supplement to unemployment benefits that is otherwise about to expire. Send thousands of dollars more in cash to American families. Keep funding the payroll protection program to prevent more layoffs. Subsidize rehiring to get laid off workers their jobs back and create new incentives for workplace safety. Give K through 12 schools, colleges, and universities funding to reopen safely, more money than the House Democrats have proposed. Support healthcare providers in the latest hotspots and keep supporting the race for vaccines. Provide common sense legal protections so that schools, hospitals, and other employers can reopen without being buried in lawsuits. That's what we put forward. $1 trillion for kids, jobs, and health care. A framework that is more generous in key areas than House Democrats' totally unserious proposal. A framework that could have kept the additional federal payments to unemployed workers flowing instead of expiring this week. But as a fact of life here in the United States Senate, it takes 60 votes to legislate, so the American people cannot get any of the additional relief that Republicans want to give them unless Democrats at least come to the table. Either our Democratic colleagues come to the table or the American people won't get the help they need. That's why I said this week we come down to one key question. Will the country get the Democrats who showed up back in March to pass the Bipartisan CARES Act? Or will the country get the Democrats who showed up in June to block police reform and keep that issue alive through November? Unfortunately, 3 days in, it hasn't been a close call. The Speaker of the House and the Democratic leader refused to let anyone else speak on their side. I understand the Democratic leader is actually forbidden his own Democratic ranking members from talking and negotiating with their Republican counterparts who are spearheading the different components. So you see, Madam President, bipartisan member-level discussions might actually generate some progress. And progress does not appear to be something the leaders on the other side want. On Monday, the Speaker of the House claimed she could not wait to start negotiations. But then on Tuesday, she said her discussion with the administration, quote, isn't a negotiation. And then the Speaker said the appropriate thing for the Senate to do is pass a bill and then we can negotiate with them. Meanwhile, the Democratic leader is over here making sure that cannot happen. This is quite the partnership, Madam President. The House Speaker moves the goalposts while the Democratic leader hides the football. They won't engage when the administration tries to discuss our comprehensive plan. They won't engage when the administration floats a narrower proposal. They basically won't engage, period. The Speaker and the Democratic leader are playing rope-a-dope with the health, welfare, and livelihoods of American families. With benefits expiring, with the Paycheck Protection Program winding down, and millions unemployed. The Democrats are saying my way or the highway with a socialist wish list that was laughed off by everyone from journalists to economists the instant they introduced it. This is what reporters had to say about Speaker Pelosi's proposal back in May. Quote, the more than 1,800-page bill makes a long wish list for Democrats. Quote, neither this bill nor anything resembling it will ever become law. Even the Speaker's own Democratic members knew it was a joke. Privately, several House Democrats concede the bill feels more like an effort to appease the most liberal members of the caucus. End quote. Yet this is what they're holding out for. This is what they're holding out for. Let's recall some of the specific items. These are the things over which Democrats are blowing up negotiations and forcing a lapse in extra unemployment benefits. Tax increase on small businesses, taxpayer-funded checks for illegal immigrants, taxpayer-funded diversity studies of the legal pot industry, and their ongoing obsession with something called the state and local tax, or SALT, which would be a massive giveaway for high earners in blue states. In other words, a tax cut for high earners in blue states. So let me say that again. Democrats are holding up help for struggling people over special tax breaks for rich people in blue states, an idea that's been criticized by economists from all sides. Republicans want to get more help to families right now, but Speaker Pelosi says let them eat salt. Let them eat salt. They also want to spend another $1 trillion bailing out state and local governments that have only spent, listen to this, 25% of the money we sent them back in March. State and local governments have only spent 25% of the money we sent them back in March. And the Speaker and the Democratic leader want to send them another $1 trillion. This is silly stuff, Madam President. None of it should be stopping negotiations, and none of it would be if our Democratic colleagues actually wanted to get an outcome. Let's talk about unemployment insurance. Both Republicans and Democrats agree that in these extraordinary times, it makes sense for the federal government to provide historic additional help on top of normal unemployment. Republicans don't want this aid to expire. Our plan continues it, but the Speaker and the Democratic leader say they won't agree to anything unless the program pays people more to stay home than to work. Prominent Democrats have publicly said they agree with our position. The Democratic governor of Connecticut has said he wants to continue the benefit at a more targeted level. Multiple members of the Senate and Speaker Pelosi's own House Democratic Majority Leader have all said in the last few days they're open to negotiating this. But the Speaker and the Democratic leader have cut all their colleagues out. They're standing alone, saying our way or the highway, and so people are going to suffer. I understand the Democratic leader said he felt offended when I noted that some people are suggesting Democrats' strange behavior is explained by politics. That some people think Democrats are behaving like national suffering would only hurt President Trump. Now, the Democratic leader himself pointed that exact accusation at various Republicans during the Obama presidency on multiple occasions. I know memories can be short around here when it's convenient. But more broadly, Madam President, actions speak louder than words. Democrats spent weeks shouting that the Senate should act on police reform, but when Senator Tim Scott gave them the chance, they blocked action. They blocked the Senate from even taking up the subject. And now, so far, the sequel. Democrats talked a big game about wanting to provide more assistance, but now it's go time. They show zero appetite for any bipartisan outcome at all. This is personal for me, Madam President. Kentucky is not finished fighting with the coronavirus, and the federal government must not be finished helping Kentucky. Laid off Kentuckians need more help. Kentucky schools need more help. And under our proposal, Kentucky alone will receive $193 million for testing and contact tracing to fight the spread of the disease. This should be just as personal for every single senator. None of our states deserve the Democrats' rope-a-dope. No American family deserves it. Don't my distinguished ranking member colleagues wish they could be involved in robust bipartisan discussions with our chairman, like back in March, and not watching from the sidelines as their leader shuts down talks on TV? Do they really think the Democratic leaders' tactics are serving the common good of their state? Republicans have put forward a framework that would do huge amounts of good for huge numbers of American families. If Democrats ever come to the table, we'll be able to bridge our differences and actually make a law.
Under the previous order, the leadership time is reserved. Morning business is closed. Under the previous order, the Senate will proceed to executive session to resume consideration of the following nomination, which the clerk will report.
Nomination, Executive Office of the President, Derek Cann of California to be Deputy Director of the Office of Management and Budget.
All right, guys. So right now we have them talking about something else.
Call the roll.
Mr. Alexander.
Okay, I'm gonna put them on pause right now as we wait. But I wanted to hear what everybody thoughts were on the subject. We're just gonna be waiting for the next person to talk. Okay, I think they're finished. Matter of fact, I think they're finished. We could leave the volume on. See, yeah. So we'll just wait to see who's next to speak, and should be Chuck or Representative Chuck of the Senate Minority Leader, and we'll hear what he has to say about what's going on. But here's my thing, right? And I can understand where Mitch is coming from. He's basically asking for some bipartisanship, which is totally understandable across the board. But we got to keep it 100, and I got to keep it 100 with you guys. I've been watching these guys for the past for a solid month now. And I want you to understand, it is Mitch's responsibility to introduce a bill. He is the majority leader in the Senate. It is his job. He hasn't been trying to talk about this bill until recently, until last week. Now he's talking about bipartisanship. And I want you to understand, Chuck has been bringing this bill or new bill or asking for a bill for the past, who knows how long he's been asking, but he's been asking for a while. Since I've been watching this whole debate about new bills and stuff like that, Chuck's been asking, majority leader. So for me personally, I think it's odd. And I can see some of you guys' comments. I'm gonna put your comments on the screen. Appreciate the comments. All right. Good morning. I think it's kind of odd that that's all he's talking about. And to be honest, they're saying that there are 20 Republican senators that do not want the bill, and he's screaming bipartisanship. What you got to worry about the Republican senators that don't want to vote for the bill. So now you actually really do need the Democrats on board. My sense is this. I understand what your sense on Nancy is in the House, but we're taking business of the Senate. Let's see what y'all can bring to the table. Let's bring a bill to the table and then put it on their. Put it against them. Oh, look, we created a bill and they don't want it. Handle business in the Senate first. All right, guys. So let me all right. That's my opinion, but I would love to hear everybody's opinion. Don't be scared to leave whatever your thoughts are. I'm gonna put them here. So if you comment, all right. Good morning, Troy. What's up? What's up? Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. Look, if somebody drops the ball, it's clear to see somebody dropping the ball. All right. And if you've been listening to this whole thing when he first started talking, hold on, we got somebody coming in. Looks like we got Chuck coming in, right? All he was talking about was the Democrats. In the beginning, he started strong, but then he was talking about the Democrats. Okay, looks like we're gonna have somebody come talk. And yeah, let's tune in. Let's tune in. All right, should be somebody. Looks like Chuck. Personally, I think someone said something about Mitch right here. Mitch is the hang up. I think Mitch is on his way out. He doesn't care. All right. His main priority is to appoint as many judges as he can before he leaves. And if you go on his Twitter, which I have, you'll see that that's all he talks about. Look how many judges we appointed, you know, across the board, and that's crazy. Here we go.
Unanimous consent the form be dispensed.
Without objection.
Now, Madam President, the Senate will soon acknowledge a moment of silence for the 150,000 Americans who have now died from COVID-19, more lives than our country lost in World War I. This national tragedy is more keenly felt because it has not and cannot be properly mourned. One of the most devastating consequences of this disease is that it keeps us apart, even in death. There's no final clutching of the hand of a loved one, no funeral to remember them by. Grandchildren, wrapped in protective gear, wave goodbye from across the hospital room. 150,000 Americans have died, more than any other nation on God's green earth, more than our allies and more than our adversaries, more than the most populous nations and those with mere fractions of our wealth and power, and more, so many more, than the nation where this virus originated. We will debate the reasons for this ugly truth. We must, if we are to avoid compounding our errors and heaping sorrow upon sorrow as the virus continues to rage throughout our country. But now we spend a moment to acknowledge how much our country has suffered already. We have lost friends and neighbors, brothers and sisters, fathers and daughters, mothers and sons. A beloved professor at Howard University, a civil rights pioneer, a renowned psychiatrist, a Brooklyn doctor, 62, on the verge of retirement, who in the early weeks of the crisis in New York worked day shifts at the ICU and night shifts at the hospital center across the street, before finally succumbing to the disease himself. We have lost so many in so short a time. Unable to grieve them in the manner they deserve, we respect this moment of silence, this moment of sorrow. So, Madam President, I ask unanimous consent that there now be a moment of silence to recognize the more than 150,000 American deaths from the novel coronavirus.
Without objection, there will now be a moment of silence to recognize the American deaths from the novel coronavirus.
Thank you, Madam President. Now, as the coronavirus, as COVID-19 continues to spread through dozens of states, our country is dealing with multiple crises at this time. Today, we learned that the most recent quarter was the worst on record for our economy. The problem is not new or surprising. Millions of newly unemployed Americans cannot go back to work, cannot afford the rent, cannot put food on the table. Small businesses are waiting to see if the federal loan program that kept them alive will be renewed. Parents are worried sick about their kids returning to school in the fall. State and local governments, who fought this disease on the front line when the Trump administration refused to give them help, are deep in the red and slashing public services, teachers, firefighters, and more. And throughout America, people wait days and days, even weeks, for the results of their tests, rendering the tests almost useless because we don't have an adequate testing program at the national level. This is the greatest public health challenge in a crisis and the greatest economic challenge in at least 75 years. We need to confront all of these crises. Senate Republicans hardly want to address any of them. They dithered for months and then produced a half-baked, half-hearted proposal of half measures, a proposal that their own caucus and their own president doesn't fully support. Just last night, the Republican leader confirmed that 20 Republican senators want to do nothing in the face of the historic problems we face. And because Senate Republicans couldn't get their act together, 2 weeks have now gone down the drain, and 3 months before that, because Republicans are wedded to a twisted ideology that the federal government shouldn't help people, even in the time of national emergency. As the country is about to careen over several cliffs as a result of the Republican delay, dithering, and disunity, our friends on the other side are now scrambling. It's dawning on them now, not a week ago, not 3 weeks ago, not 2 months ago, that we're facing a cliff on unemployment, although we face cliffs on other issues as well right now. Today, I understand that a few of my colleagues on the other side will ask the Senate to pass a reduction of the enhanced unemployment benefit from $600 a week to $200 a week, or even worse, a smaller percentage of a worker's wage than Republicans proposed in their bill earlier this week. An already stingy Republican proposal has gotten even stingier as the week has gone on. I've made it very clear why the proposal by the senator of Wisconsin is terrible policy for 4 main reasons. First and most obviously, it would hurt the unemployed. 1.4 million Americans filed new claims for unemployment last week. The number is going up again. Our economy is still shedding jobs. Americans are losing their paycheck through no fault of their own. And Republicans want to take $1,600 out of their pockets every single month, give people who lost their jobs through no fault of their own a 34% pay cut? Shocking, inhumane, wrong. Second, it would exacerbate poverty. Our enhanced unemployment benefits have prevented nearly 12 million Americans from slipping into poverty. Republicans want to slash and burn that poverty-preventing policy. Let's have more people go into poverty. That's what this amendment would do. Third, it would devastate our economy. One of the few bright spots over the past few months has been consumer spending, in no small part because of these unemployment benefits go to those Americans who need to spend it as soon as they get it. No wonder respected economic forecasters project that the Republican policy on unemployment insurance would cost us over 1 million jobs this year and 3 million more next year. And finally, we know that this policy is impossible to implement. When our office called state unemployment offices to ask them about the Republican proposal, they said their implementation would be a catastrophe. One office said simply, this would cause chaos. So this is not a serious proposal. We all know it'll never pass the House and doesn't have enough votes to come close to passing in the Senate. Large numbers of Republicans will vote against it. This effort appears to be an effort to provide Republicans some political cover because they can't get their act together and force the country over these cliffs. We are trying to negotiate with the White House and would welcome negotiations with our Senate colleagues. But the reason negotiations are going nowhere right now is Republicans are divided. Who's leading the effort on the Republican side? Chief Meadows and Secretary Mnuchin? Is Senator Johnson and Senator Braun's effort to pass reduced unemployment benefits a real offer from Republicans or just a stunt? Leader McConnell has said that Democrats won't engage. I would remind him, he refuses to go into the room when Speaker Pelosi, Secretary Mnuchin, Chief of Staff Meadows, and I sit in there. Once again, Senator McConnell engages in Alice in Wonderland tactics and speeches and words. What he says is exactly the opposite of what is true. We're trying to negotiate, the Senate Republicans are not. Next, it's clear that Senate Republicans don't have a unified position on anything. The main thing we hear from Leader McConnell is that he would torpedo all relief Americans are counting on unless there's a giant corporate immunity provision attached. And he says he won't even negotiate on it. Who's holding things up? Who's standing in the way? Leader McConnell and his Republican caucus certainly at the top of the list. And President Trump is all over the lot. He himself called the Republican Senate proposal semi-irrelevant. When your own president says your proposal is semi-irrelevant, as Trump has said to the Senate Republicans, you know that they're tied in a knot and can't get anything done. The president seems to endorse a different policy every time he finds a microphone. The one thing we're sure he supports is spending taxpayer dollars on a new FBI building to boost the value of his hotel. And yesterday we learned the president asked for nearly $400 million in renovations to the White House in the Republican COVID proposal. Seriously? The president proposes no help for Americans to stay in their houses, but wants the taxpayers to fork over nearly $400 million to help him renovate the White House? Simply put, negotiations with the White House and Senate Republicans right now are like trying to nail Jell-O to the wall. We're trying to work with our counterparts, but it's immensely frustrating to deal with a negotiating partner that can't say what they support on nearly any issue. Now we're hearing the president and his representatives have floated the idea of a skinny bill to address one program, to extend unemployment insurance at much lower rates, which hurts the unemployed. But while the nation waits, desperate for comprehensive relief, they leave everything else out. What about improving testing, where people have to wait in line, wait for hours and weeks, days and weeks to get their tests back? What about helping state and local governments who have to lay off firefighters and bus drivers? What about dealing with people who might be evicted? What about dealing with people who can't feed their kids? The list of issues goes on and on and on, and they're all immediate and urgent. So to have this bill, which is inadequate on unemployment benefits alone, cuts them to the bone, and not include any of the other issues in a hope to escape and then do nothing more, forget it. Won't pass the Senate, won't pass the House. It's a stunt. Even if the White House would agree to another extension of enhanced unemployment at its current level, which many, if not most, Senate Republicans will refuse to support, there are just too many things left out. Opening up our schools safely, healthcare testing and reducing the wait to get test results, state and local governments, so much more. And even if the White House finally comes round to the position we should extend the moratorium on evictions, that wouldn't be enough. It makes no sense to extend the moratorium on evictions without helping Americans actually afford the rent. We can prevent landlords or banks from kicking Americans out of their homes for another few months, but then what? The same Americans would be 6 months behind on the rent and have no hope of making up the difference. So let's look here. Here's where we are. Americans are worried as this awful pandemic rages on. The lifelines we passed here in Congress to protect families, small businesses, renters, school kids, and so many more are expiring. And our Republican colleagues dither. We have a comprehensive, bold proposal. They have virtually nothing. Let's remember recent history. That may give us some hope that we can get something done. Back in March and April, Republicans were late to the game, just as they are now, and proposed stingy, insufficient legislation in response to COVID-19, just like they're doing now. Each time, Democrats were not bullied by Republicans into passing something that wouldn't work and be insufficient, but we demanded that our colleagues sit down with us and negotiate a bill that meets the needs of the American people. And that's what we did. And in the second, third, and fourth phases of COVID relief, our negotiations produced much better legislation that passed both houses with near unanimity. It's never easy, and it's never painless, but it can be done. We just need our Republican colleagues to get their act together, roll up their sleeves, understand the gravity and breadth and depth of this problem, and negotiate with us in a serious way. Yield the floor. Absence of quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Alexander.
So there you have it, guys. We heard from the minority and the majority Senate leaders, and pretty much they're pointing, of course, fingers at each other on whose fault is it. In reality, we got to say that the senators, the Republican senators are dropping the ball. As we stated earlier, 20 of them do not want the bill. They don't even want the bill. So in order for this bill to get through, they're gonna need the support from the Democrats, the Senate Democrats. I want to thank all you guys for showing up. Yeah, we're gonna watch this, and I think some of you guys really love seeing this happen, and it's actually happening live, so we get some more insight. The big bombshell, of course, has been the FBI building that they want to build right next to a Trump property that would boost the value of the Trump property. And not only that, another bombshell is that apparently the bill that the senators want to pass also supports $400 million to go to the White House to renovate the White House. Yeah. So probably would go to beefing up security or making a larger bunker or most likely beefing up security in terms of probably having people tested coming in, COVID testing, in those terms of having they probably have these cameras. They should have already those thermal cameras and stuff like that. But anyways, man, if you're watching this video after the live stream, subscribe today. Hit a like button, subscribe today, leave a comment on your thoughts on what both senators had to say about this situation. All in all, I do agree with Chuck because of the fact that he is saying that, hey, the Democrats did their part, we're still waiting on yours. And that is factual, right? So we need the senators to get together and produce something, especially today, or if not today, tomorrow. So we need a solid answer when it comes to the unemployment for sure, right? And we need to know what they're planning on doing and helping people not get evicted from their homes. It's crazy right now. All right. Thanks for watching. I want to hear from you. If they're gonna do a live stream tomorrow, I am here. All right. If they do a live stream, they don't normally do live streams on Friday, but if they do one tomorrow, I am most definitely here. So make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the morning. What I'm gonna do with this video, I'm gonna trim it down to just show the parts of the leaders talking a little bit more slimmer, and that way you guys can enjoy. All right, but thanks, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, thank you. I appreciate it for all you guys showing up. Thank you, guys. All right. If I can edit, get out of here. Okay. now we're gone. Okay. Yeah. All right. See you guys.